going for like best receiver in college, why not make Malik Neighbors?
Ooh,
Look at the
true.
numbers.
That is true.
Look at the numbers.
That is true. Malik Neighbors. The only thing I would argue with Malik is I don't think he's the most important player on his team.
I agree with you,
But I
but
do agree with
my
you.
thing is,
Malik
if we're
Neighbors.
gonna say Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best receiver in the country, and based on the games that he's having, the season that he's having, he deserves to be in that race. Then why not go with a receiver who's putting up better
He's
numbers than
actually
him?
Malik is putting up better numbers. I'm pretty sure he's got more. He might have more touchdowns. I don't know. He's got 10 so far in the season. Harrison has. I mean, he's got almost 30. He's gonna go for 1,500 yards this year. Now,
Without an extra game.
yeah, without the extra game. See, the only difference is, I do agree with you. Malik is having the better statistical year, but I think we're both on the same page. Marvin Harrison is the better football player, but that's not what the Heisman necessarily about. My goodness, this kid really is going off. You know what? Marvin Harrison, to win the Heisman, to me, you have to win your position award. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Especially if you're not a quarterback. 'Cause I think you don't have to win the Davy O'Brien to win the Heisman at quarterback. But I think if you are a running back, you have to win the Doak Walker to win the Heisman.
You would think.
I mean, we've seen crazier things, but that's more of my train of thought. Will Marvin Harrison win the Biletnikoff?
So, yes, exactly. So I think Neighbors should win a Biletnikoff.
Yeah.
And so that's my thing on that. So I
Well, the catch.
I would put Harrison over Neighbors only because um it's only because I feel that Ohio State is really heavily relying on Harrison more than LSU relying on Neighbors, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
So that's the only reason, but I'm just throwing it out there, like, why not Neighbors if we're gonna talk about Harrison? Not saying that either one deserves to win it, but I just feel that if you're gonna pick one, why not the other? But Jalen Milroe is an interesting guy though. Um, he's putting up some great numbers right now. Alabama's looking amazing. That playbook is really opening up for him. We kind of criticized it earlier in the season that there wasn't enough design runs for him. They wasn't letting him use his strengths as a player, and we're starting to see that unfold these last few weeks of Jalen Milroe just being the dynamic playmaker that we thought that he can be.
Right.
Um, so with Joe Tessitore during the game against Kentucky, I think it was Joe Tessitore calling the game. If it's somebody else, I apologize, but I'm pretty sure it was him. Made an amazing point about Jalen Milroe, and he um and what he said is basically backs up my opinion 1,000%. He basically says that he doesn't think Jalen Milroe deserves to be in the Heisman conversation, but he wouldn't be surprised if he actually won it. And his reason is that he feels that the Heisman voting should be just redone. It's a sham. It's gotten to the point now where it's only about how you finish. And we said this last year. Remember we
Yes.
talked about? I mean, last week. I mean, we talked about C.J. Stroud. Stroud had the best season wire to wire last season, but because Caleb Williams finished better than him, he won. We saw that a couple of years before that. I'm blanking on who. Um, um, Dang it, who won high school? Anyway, we've seen it, time and time again though over the last few years where a lot of times it's like who finishes stronger over the last few games as
Right.
opposed to the whole year. And his argument is that Jaden Miro played so bad early in the season that we can't forget that. We can't, just all of a sudden just be like, oh well, he finished strong and overlook the quality of work that other people have done all season, like Bo Nix, like Michael Penix. And Michael Penix, he's having a tough stretch right now, but the competition has ramped up for him, and
Yes.
they're still winning. So that's why I can't penalize him too much. I still have him in my top three, but I don't have him as my favorite anymore. I think Bo Nick's the favorite, but my number one pick is Jaden Daniels. I just think that, bring back the years where, like, I feel like nowadays RG3 would not win the Heisman nowadays. You know, and he clearly deserves the Heisman. He clearly deserved it when he won it.
Yeah,
I
he
think
was the guy.
yeah, I think Lamar Jackson had a better year his junior season than his sophomore. Oh, well, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, his
oh,
Heisman.
yeah, well, yeah, well, the year after he won the Heisman, I forgot if it was junior, sophomore, or whatever. I forgot if he won his freshman or sophomore, but he had a better year that second year than the year that he won it. But again, that's the Caleb argument. Being desensitized to like you just can't give it to him twice. Um, yeah, I don't know, but I agree with everything that Tessitore said about Milrow. I think Milrow, as great as he's playing, I definitely think if it was me, he would have a seat in New York. Um, I definitely think he's earned that with his play. I just think you can't
Well, see,
catapult him over the
this
other guys
this is my.
based on the last
I think it
5 or 6 weeks of the season.
depends because it does matter how you start, and I put this back to the same thing where I've said about just the playoffs, and I do mean it. We watch more college football than the people voting on this stuff. You're not gonna make me believe that even with the Heisman, these guys aren't watching that much football. They're not watching those games in early September, early October, the week 2, week 0. I don't think these people are watching that much football because Jalen Murray, I do agree that he struggled early in the season. Now he's flipped it on late, and the reason why I put him in the Heisman race, and don't get me wrong, I think he has a shot to win it. If he keeps scoring the way he has been, 4, 5, 6 touchdowns a game, I think he's
Hmm.
gonna finish with 40 touchdowns before
Oh no,
Jason Jordan.
he definitely has a shot to
Yeah.
win it, and that's kind of what Tessitore was saying. He's saying that with the way that the voting is nowadays, it would not surprise him one bit if he win it because he's looking like he's going to finish very strong.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, a lot of voters go by how you finish as opposed to the whole entire body
Well,
of
now
work.
I have a.
And that's kind of like my whole point is
I have,
the whole entire body of work.
if
With Bo Nix
if
and
we
Michael Penix
look at
and Jaden.
Miro's entire body of work, he had 2 really bad weeks of football: Texas and South Florida. He had 2 really really bad weeks. I think Bo Nix and Penix have the best opportunity. The only catch with Bo Nix, and I think it's safe to say, Bo Nix has to beat Oregon State. Is that fair? I think he has to.
See, and that's my issue right there. Like, I think it's fair to say that, but I don't think that's fair to Bo Nix. And that's the
Yeah,
thing.
he's
Like,
not
I
gonna make
think
a back.
that Bo Nix is having a Heisman type
Yes,
campaign,
he is.
and I don't think he should be judged whether or not he beats Oregon State. But that's the state that
Yeah,
we are in when it comes to the Heisman voting. Again, like I said a few moments ago, RG3 would not win the Heisman in this climate.
no.
Same thing with Lamar Jackson.
See, the
Unless
way.
these.
Well, maybe that's where I'm gonna answer that question because I'm gonna give you how I view if we get a Heisman, each get a Heisman vote. INTS is getting a vote. That's how we're gonna play it. The way I believe in voting for the Heisman, the number one thing I'm looking for is how did you perform in your biggest of games? Okay, and that's my knock against Milrow. In one of your biggest games this year, you came up small against Texas, so that's a knock on him. Now, Bo Nix to me has not played bad in any game he's played in this year. Against Washington, him and Penix dueled out. He just lost the game. It is what it is. I think now don't get me wrong. I think against Oregon State, that's a big rivalry game. Playoffs on the line. Conference title is on the line. Honestly, you can't even think about the playoffs if you don't win that game. Um, I think his performance in that game is really going to matter because he